Dear students, warm greetings on behalf of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Today's tele-lesson is on the concepts of negotiable instruments. This tele-lesson is for the BCom third year, semester 5 students. This is for the course Banking, Law and Practice. So, dear students, in today's tele-lesson, the following topics would be covered. First we will learn what is a negotiable instrument. Then we will learn the different characteristics of negotiable instruments. Then we will try to understand the different presumptions which are there in the negotiable instruments. Then we will learn about the different types of negotiable instrument, that is the promissory note, the bill of exchange and a check. Then we will understand who a holder is and a holder in due course. Also we will learn who is a payment in due course. This is how today's tele-lesson will go about, my dear students. So, dear students, the Negotiable Instrument Act 1881 was enacted to legally recognize and govern the system of negotiable instruments, like the three important negotiable instruments, the promissory note, the bill of exchange and a check in India. So, it was enacted in the year 1881 and periodically, regularly amendments in this particular act has been made. It aims at comprehensively dealing with the laws relating to the negotiable instruments, that is the bill of exchange, the promissory note and checks, and provides clarity and certainty regarding their interpretation and application. So, dear students, negotiable instruments are those documents which are used for making payments and whose ownership can be transferred from one person to another many times before the final payment is made. So, the negotiable instruments, dear students, is transferable from one person to another person, from Mr. A to Mr. B, from Mr. B to Mr. C. In other words, dear students, negotiable instrument is a transferable document where negotiable means transferable. Negotiable means transferable and instrument means document. So, a transferable document. So, negotiable instrument, my dear students, is a transferable document. So, moreover, dear students, a negotiable instrument means a document guaranteeing the payment of specific amount of money which is transferable from one person to another person, either on demand or at some defined time, with the name of the payer on the instrument. So, this is what, in simple terms, a negotiable instrument is. Also, dear students, a negotiable instrument is actually a written document. It cannot be an oral document. It has to be written. If I say I will pay Mr. B 1000 rupees, it is not a negotiable instrument. A negotiable instrument, dear student, should be a written document and is transferable. Let us suppose I have a bill of exchange worth 10,000 rupees. I can transfer or endorse this bill of exchange of 10,000 rupees from Mr. A to Mr. B. So, this document specifies payment to a specific person or the bearer, whoever is having that particular negotiable instrument, at a specified time, that is the time mentioned on the bill of exchange or a promissory note or a check. So, in simple terms, my dear students, negotiable means transferability, instrument means a piece of paper or any document. So, negotiable instrument is a document which is transferable from one person to another person. Now, my dear students, let us try to understand the definition of negotiable instrument. As per section 13 of the Negotiable Instrument Act, negotiable instrument means 1. A promissory note, 2. A bill of exchange, 3. A check payable either to order or the bearer, whether the word order or bearer appear on the instrument or not. So, this is the definition, my dear students, given as per section 13 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. In the words of Justice Willis, a negotiable instrument is one, the property in which is acquired by anyone who takes it bona fide and for value, notwithstanding any defects of the title in the person from whom he took it. This is another definition, my dear students, given by Justice Willis. So, dear students, negotiable instruments are majorly of two types. One, a negotiable instrument is payable to order. That is, when one, it is expressed to be payable. So, two, when it is expressed to be payable to a specified person and does not contain words prohibiting its transfer. That is, it is transferable by endorsement and delivery. So, it is payable to the order, that is the person mentioned on that particular instrument. Second, my dear students, a negotiable instrument is payable to bearer. That is, when it is expressed to be so payable, that is example, pay bearer. That is, when the only or last endorsement what you have transferred means, endorsement means, my dear students, signing on the instrument. On the instrument is an endorsement in blank. That is, when the only or the last endorsement on the instrument is on the endorsement in blank, it is called as a negotiable instrument is payable to bearer. So, negotiable instrument 1 payable to order, 2 negotiable instrument payable to bearer. So, these are the two pictures of negotiable instrument payable to bearer and negotiable instruments payable to order. If you see on the bearer check, if you will see pay to dash or bearer. That is the difference between negotiable instruments payable to order and payable to bearer. Now, dear students, let us learn the different characteristics of negotiable instrument. One, dear students, as I told you, it cannot be oral. If I say I will pay Mr. A rupees 10,000, it is not a negotiable instrument. So, the first characteristics, my dear students, is it should be in writing. Second, it should be freely transferable from one person to another person. Third, it should create a right of a person to receive money and a corresponding liability of a person to pay money. Let us suppose I issue a bill of exchange to Mr. B. Let us suppose I bought goods on credit, for which I give a bill of exchange to Mr. B. It means I have, and let us suppose the value of the bill is 10,000 rupees. So, I have to pay rupees 10,000 to Mr. B. So, it means Mr. B will receive money and I have to pay money. So, Mr. B has a right to receive money and I have a corresponding liability to pay the money, that is worth rupees 10,000, the bill of exchange which I have issued for the credit sales I have made. So, 1, my dear students, it should be in writing. 2, it should be freely transferable. 3, it should create a right for the person to receive money and a liability for the other person to pay money. 4th, holder's title is free from defect. Whoever is holding the title of the bill of exchange is free from all defects. That is, a holder in due course acquires a good title irrespective of any defect in the previous holder's title. For example, my dear students, let us suppose Mr. A steals a check or a bill of exchange or a negotiable instrument and he gives it to Mr. B, but Mr. B did not know that that particular check was stolen and Mr. B had paid consideration for the check whatever he has received and he was ignorant that that particular check was stolen. So, in that particular case, holder's title is free from defects. That is, dear students, a holder in due course acquires a good title irrespective of any defect in the previous holder's title. Even though the previous holder's title was defective because he has stolen that particular check, I do not have any defect. I, as a holder of the instrument, do not pass on. The defect does not pass on to the holder. It is free of all defects. Also, dear student, a holder in due course is one who receives the instrument, 1, for consideration, 2, without notice as to the defect of the title of the transferor, that is, in good faith and before maturity. Even though the check was stolen or the instrument, any negotiable instrument was stolen, I did not know it was stolen and I paid consideration for that particular negotiable instrument, whichever I have received, in good faith, dear students, and also before the date of maturity. So, 1, it should be in writing, 2, it should be freely transferable, 3, it should create a right for the person to receive money and a liability for another to pay. 4th, holder's title is free from defects. And 5th, my dear students, the 5th characteristic feature of a negotiable instrument is transferability. That is, a negotiable instrument can be transferred infinite times, n number of times. Any time the negotiable instrument can be transferred from one person to another person. That is, it can be transferred any number of times until the payment or until the date of maturity. So, dear students, these are the different characteristic features of negotiable instruments. After we have learned the different characteristic features of negotiable instruments, dear students, let us learn what are the different presumptions as per section 118 of the Negotiable Instrument Act. What are that you presume before you issue a negotiable instrument? These presumptions are given under section 118 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. The first presumption, my dear students, is consideration. That is, it shall be presumed that every negotiable instrument was made or drawn for consideration, and that every such instrument, when it was accepted, endorsed, negotiated or transferred, was accepted, endorsed, negotiated and transferred for a consideration. It is not for free of cost. I buy goods on credit worth 10,000 rupees and I issue a negotiable instrument. So, there is a consideration of goods worth rupees 10,000 rupees which I have bought for credit. So, the first presumption, my dear students, is consideration. The second presumption is date. It shall be presumed that every negotiable instrument bearing a date was made or drawn on such date. Let us suppose a check has a date 5th September 20XX. It is presumed that the check was issued on that particular date which is mentioned on the check. The third presumption, my dear student, is time of acceptance. It shall be presumed that every accepted bill of exchange was accepted within a reasonable time after its date and before maturity. Every bill or every negotiable instrument will have a date of maturity, and it is presumed that it is after the date of the bill or after the date of the negotiable instrument mentioned on the instrument and before the date of maturity. Let us take an example of a check. If you see any check, the check has a maturity value, date of maturity of 3 months. Let us suppose the check is issued today, it will mature after 3 months from today. So, that is the another presumption, time of acceptance. The third presumption, my dear students, is transfer. That is, it shall be presumed that every transfer of the negotiable instrument was made before its maturity. So, before the date of maturity of the negotiable instrument, any endorsements or any transfer has to happen. That is what is another presumption what we make as per section 118. The next presumption is, my dear students, order of endorsement. It shall be presumed that the endorsements were made in the order in which they appear on the instrument. Whatever is the order which is appearing on the instrument, that is a presumption of the order of endorsements as per the section 118. Another important presumption is regarding the stamp. It shall be presumed, dear students, that any negotiable instrument is duly signed and stamped. So, these are the different presumptions based on section 118 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. Dear students, after learning the different presumptions of the Negotiable Instruments Act, now let us learn the different types of negotiable instruments. As per the definition, as per section 13 of the definition of the Negotiable Instruments Act, dear student, there are three types of negotiable instrument, three important types of negotiable instrument. 1. Promissory note. 2. Bill of exchange. 3. Check. Dear students, let us learn all these three in detail. First, promissory note. So, promissory note is as per section 4. So, as per section 4, dear students, let us try to understand what is given in section 4 of the Negotiable Instruments Act regarding a promissory note. So, section 4 of the Act, dear students, defines a promissory note as an instrument in writing, not being a bank note or a currency note. It is not a currency note or a bank note. Dear students, a promissory note is an instrument in writing, not being a bank note or a currency note, containing an unconditional undertaking. It is an unconditional undertaking. Let's discuss what is this in a second. Signed by the maker to pay a certain sum of money to or to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. Let us try to discuss this definition in detail in a moment, dear students. Before that, let us try to learn who are the parties in a promissory note. There are two important parties in a promissory note, dear student. One, the maker, that is the person who makes the promissory note and promises to pay. Second, the payee, the person to whom the amount is payable. Let us suppose I issue a promissory note for the goods which I bought on credit to Mr. B. I am the maker who makes the note or promises to pay. Mr. B is the payee, the person to whom the amount is payable. So, two parties in a promissory note. Now, let us discuss, dear students, the definition in detail along with the characteristics of the promissory note. One, as per the definition, dear students, if you see, it should be in writing. So, an oral promise to pay is not sufficient. If I tell orally, I will pay Mr. B rupees 10,000, that is not a promissory note. So, the first characteristic feature is it should be in writing. The second one is there must be an express promise to pay. It should be a promise to pay. Mere acknowledgement of debt is not sufficient. If I just acknowledge that I will pay Mr. A or their goods are sold on credit and I will pay, an acknowledgement of debt is not sufficient. It should be an express promise to pay rupees 10,000 for the goods what I bought on credit. Example, dear students, I acknowledge myself to be indebted to B rupees 10,000 rupees to be paid on demand for value received. It is a valid promissory note because, dear students, there is a promise to pay and that promise to pay is definite. I repeat, dear students, if I issue a promissory note stating I acknowledge myself to be indebted to Mr. B for rupees 10,000 rupees to be paid on demand for value received. This is a valid promissory note because there is a promise, a definite promise to pay. Let us take another example. Mr. B, and I write I owe you rupees 10,000. I use the short form. I use the word I, alphabet O, alphabet U. I do not write IOWEYOU, the full form. I use the abbreviation, the short form as we use in WhatsApp and social media. Mr. B, letter O, letter U, rupees 10,000. It is an invalid promissory note, dear student, because there is no promise to pay. It is just an acknowledgement of debt. An acknowledgement of debt is not a promissory note. It should be a promise to pay. So, that is another important characteristic feature, dear students. The next characteristic feature, dear students, is the promise to pay should be definite and unconditional. It should not have any condition. I will pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 only when B gets married. I will pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 only when he completes his MBA degree. I will pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 only when he gets 100 out of 100 marks in organizational theory and behavior. That is not a promissory note, dear students. The promise to pay should be definite and unconditional. Therefore, instruments payable on performance or non-performance of a particular act or on the happening or non-happening of an event are not promissory notes. If I say I will pay A or I will pay B rupees 10,000 when it rains, I will pay B when India becomes Viksit Bharat in 2047. It should be totally unconditional. I will pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 when he gets married. It should be totally unconditional. However, dear students, the promise to pay may be subject to a condition which, according to the ordinary experience of mankind, is bound to happen. For example, I promised to pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 7 days after my marriage with C. If I tell that, that is an invalid promissory note, because marriage with C may happen or may not happen, so invalid. Let us take another example. I promised to pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 on D's death. That is a valid promissory note because the death of D is certain. One day or the other D has to die, so the promise is unconditional. Thus, the promissory note is valid. Let us take another example. I promised to pay Mr. B rupees 10,000 on D's death, provided D leaves me enough money to pay that particular sum. This promissory note is invalid. The earlier one was valid because death is certain, but the second condition, that is he will leave me enough money to pay, is not certain, isn't it? D may leave or may not leave, so he may not leave any money, so it is not a valid promissory note. So, dear student, the promise to pay should be definite and it should be unconditional. So, let us discuss another characteristic feature of promissory note, dear student, that is a promissory note must be signed by the maker. I have issued a promissory note to pay B rupees 10,000, I have to sign. Without my signature, the promissory note is not valid. Another characteristic feature, dear students, is promise to pay money only. I cannot tell I will pay 10,000 worth rice, 10,000 worth chocolates, 10,000 worth cattle, or I will give a black horse in return of 10,000 rupees. That is not a promissory note. So, a promissory note to pay money only. Example, if I say I promise to pay rupees 10,000 and deliver him a horse, that is not a valid promissory note. The next characteristic feature, my dear student, is promise to pay a certain sum. That is, I promise to pay rupees 10,000 and all other sums which shall be due to him is not a valid promissory note, because I should only tell I promise to pay 10,000. If I use the word I promise to pay rupees 10,000 and all other sums. So, what is that all other sums? How much it is? 10,000, 11,000, 12,000? We do not know the exact figure, so that is not a valid promissory note. So, promise to pay a certain sum, 10,000 rupees is a valid promissory note. Another characteristic feature as per the definition, dear student, is the maker and the payee must be certain, definite and different persons. I cannot be the maker and I cannot be the payee. So, I have taken goods on credit from Mr. B for 10,000. So, I am the maker, he is the payee to whom I am going to pay rupees 10,000. And also, dear students, stamping. The promissory note must be properly stamped in accordance with the provisions of the Indian Stamp Act. So, all these things have to be kept in mind, dear students, while preparing a promissory note. And dear student, this is the specimen of a sample promissory note, just for your reference. Once we have understood a promissory note as per section 4, now let us try to understand what is a bill of exchange as per section 5. So, dear student, a bill of exchange is defined as per the Negotiable Instrument Act section 5 as an instrument, again in writing, contains again an unconditional order, again signed by the maker, directs a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only again to the order of a certain person or to the bearer of the instrument. So, this is the definition of bills of exchange as per section 5 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. Now, dear students, let us try to know the parties to the bill of exchange. One, we should have a drawer, that is the maker of the bill of exchange, the drawee. The person directed by the drawer to pay is called a drawee. Third, a payee, that is the person named in the instrument to whom or to whose order the money or the instrument is directed to pay. For example, if you see in this particular picture, Mr. Sam is the drawer. He sold goods to Mr. Rita, the drawee, and draws a bill of exchange. The bill of exchange is delivered to Rita, and is accepted by her unconditionally. So, on the date of maturity, whatever is there on the bill of exchange, the drawer presents the instrument and the drawee makes the payment. So, this is what first the seller sold goods to the buyer, then draws a bill of exchange on him. The bill of exchange is delivered to the buyer who accepts it without any condition. On maturity, the bill of exchange, the buyer will pay the amount due to the payee. So, the payee may be the drawer himself or a third party. So, the characteristics of a bill of exchange is it must be in writing, it must contain an express order to pay, it should be an order to pay, definite order to pay, an unconditional one, the drawer must sign the instrument, the sum must be certain, the order must be to pay money only, and it should be stamped. Now, finally, dear students, let us understand what a check is as per section 6. Section 6 of the Negotiable Instruments Act. Check refers to a negotiable instrument that contains again an unconditional order to the bank to pay a certain sum mentioned in the instrument from the drawer's account to the person to whom it is issued or to the order of the specified person or the bearer. It also includes truncated checks and checks in electric form. So, dear students, check has a drawer, the person who draws a check, drawee. Drawee here is a bank, the specific bank on whom a check is drawn. Payee, the person named on the instrument to whom the amount is payable. So, these are the three parties in a check. And dear students, all the essential characteristics of the bill of exchange is valid for check also. It must be drawn. One thing you have to keep in mind for a check is it should be drawn on a specified banker and it must be payable on demand. So, that is the difference between a drawer and a drawee. We have already learned who is a holder and a holder in due course. Let us learn what is a payment in due course as per section 10. Payment in due course means payment in accordance with the apparent tenor of the instrument in good faith and without negligence to any person in possession thereof under circumstances which do not afford a reasonable ground for believing that he is not entitled to receive payment in the amount thereof mentioned. Thank you for your patient listening.